Hello everyone, welcome to Bonnie's Best Creations, and today we're going to make bread. Yes, bread. Everybody seems to be making bread these days. It's hard to get flour and yeast because everybody's going back to roots during this time of isolation. So today I thought if you've never made bread before, this is the best recipe to give it a try. It's called Knead Bread. So here, let's go and make this bread. What you need, all you need for this bread is flour, salt, yeast, and water. That's it, in a large bowl. Okay, so in this bowl, we are going to add 3 cups. 1, 2, 3. Bread is pretty forgiving. You don't need an exact measurement. Bread machines, you do. If you don't do it exactly, the bread might turn out like hockey pucks. But when you're making bread from scratch, you don't have to be exact. Now to this flour, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Any salt. We're going to put on one side of the bowl, and we'll just, that was a little bit too much, so let's take some off. And as a wives' tale, they say throw it over your shoulder. So let's do that. All right, now I need you to remember, when you're mixing yeast with salt, never put your yeast right on top of the salt. For some reason, it deactivates it. And to this, on the other side, we're going to add a teaspoon of yeast. I buy my yeast in bulk and keep it in a sealed container in the refrigerator, and it stays forever. But you can also buy the little packets if you can get it right now. All right, so there we have our flour, salt on one side, and yeast with another. Now very slowly, let's just mix that together, just so that the yeast is kind of, you don't have to be, it's just that when the yeast is put right on top of the salt. And just stir that around. You know, they said that in ancient Greece, in 2500 BC, there was already 80 kinds or varieties of bread. Bread was used as currency back then. And they valued bread so much that they even buried bread in the tombs of their ancestors. All these things, all with bread. All right, that's it. Now to this, we are going to add 1.5 cups of warm water. As long as it's warm, to the wrist, it's good. If it's too hot, it will just kill the yeast. Okay, so there we are, and we're gonna stir. Just stir and mix that all together. It seems dry, doesn't it? But just mix it. This is supposed to look shaggy. That's what they call this, shaggy. A shaggy shaggy dough. Just mix that. We're not kneading it, we're just mixing it. Just mixing so all that flour is mixed into that dough. We'll scrape it. I have this big Tupperware bowl from years ago. Remember we went to Tupperware parties? I'm sure it's still, the parties still go on. But this one I use the most. There. Now, there we go. There is the shaggy mess, they call it. Now, that's it. Now, all you do now is you cover it. If you don't have a bowl like this, then you just use a bowl and cover it with saran. And this bread can sit anywhere from 8 hours to 18 hours overnight. Just let it sit and don't touch it. Just put it in a nice warm spot, and it does magical things. And then we will go then to the next step. Okay, we're back. So the bread has been rising here in this bowl, and I've now got my oven preheated to 425, and I'm using a cast iron pot with a lid. You can put your bread on a cookie sheet if you'd like, but I find that this pot here gives a nice humidity to the bread and more of a crust on it. So that's what I'm going to use. So here's my dough. Now to this dough, if you wanted to change the flours to whole wheat flour or half and half, you could do it before you let it rise. If you wanted to make raisin bread, add raisins and maybe a tablespoon of cinnamon to that. Maybe a little bit of sugar if you'd like that. So this bread dough is pretty versatile. The longer it sits, the more it becomes like sourdough bread. So it depends, you can do it let it rise for about 4 to 5 hours or anywhere up to 18 hours. Now what I'm going to do is on a lightly floured surface here, this bread is going to be gooey, sticky, and I'm just going to turn it out onto that surface. And all I'm going to do is fold it, not knead it. This is no knead. I'm just folding it. So you just like that. Now I've got a sheet of parchment paper, and I'm just going to plop that on top of there. My cast iron pot is in the oven, warming up with the oven till it reaches the 425 degree. Once it's set and ready, I will take this parchment paper, wrap it all up, and plop this right in the middle of your pot. with the lid on, and I'm going to bake it at 425 for about 40 minutes. Then take the lid off and continue baking for another 10 minutes till the crust is golden brown. Okay, here's the bread hot out of the oven. There's the parchment paper, and there you have a nice round loaf. Crusty on the outside and nice and chewy in the middle. I'm ready for lunch. What do you think? Smothered in butter, jam, or a nice chunk of cheese. It's delicious. Give it a try. And please leave some comments below and let me know what you think. Enjoy!